Support for the Idaho Matters podcast is brought to you in part by University of Idaho, Idaho's only Carnegie R1 classified research university. Our Carnegie R1 designation recognizes the discoveries we make that help our forests thrive. It means we're creating more doctors and doing real research to strengthen cybersecurity for Idaho businesses, our energy sector, and every Idahoan. More at go.uidaho.edu/Idaho-is-Idaho.
Boise State Public Radio and Duck Club Entertainment present the Charlie Hunter Trio.
Charlie Hunter Trio, everybody.
Wednesday, March 18th at the Shrine Social Club in Boise. Blending jazz, funk, blues, and rock, Hunter is a guitarist, producer, and bandleader who will present his unique finger-picking technique on custom hybrid guitars. Tickets are available now at theduckclub.com.
More Idaho Matters now from the studios of Boise State Public Radio News. I'm Gemma Gaudette. College sports are at a crossroads right now. Student athletes can now profit from their name and their image and their likeness. And the business of college athletics continues to grow into a multi-billion-dollar industry. However, some educators are asking a different question. If sports are such a central part of campus life, should they also be treated as a serious academic field? Now, one of the people pushing that idea is David Hollander. He's a professor at NYU and the author of How Basketball Can Save the World. Now, Hollander argues that basketball and sports more broadly aren't just games. He says they're systems of thinking that can teach leadership, creativity, collaboration, and problem solving. He's also helping lead a national conversation about whether students should be able to major in sports, an idea that's drawing interest from universities, athletes, and even companies like Nike. Hollander will be in Boise next week for a public keynote at Boise State University and then a national symposium exploring the future of sports as an academic discipline. Before he comes to Boise, though, he's joining us live to talk more about all of this. David, welcome to the show.
It's so nice to be here. Thank you.
So you've said that basketball can function almost like a philosophy or a value system. Well, what exactly do you mean by that?
Yeah. What I mean by that is, sure, it's a game, but it's also an exercise that teaches you all kinds of things when you do it, and also teaches you from the structure of the game, other kinds of things. And so when I teach a course called How Basketball Can Save the World, I don't mean just by playing basketball you can save the world. I mean, if you look at the way you behave on a basketball court, we can draw principles that can teach us how to behave with each other in all kinds of other contexts. When I talk about the structure of a game of basketball, how accessible it is, and the way it allows for positionless play. What I'm talking about is this could be the way you can structure a society based on those principles. It's what the game stands for, and it just so happens that when you play the game, well, that's a great cellular teacher for all those other larger principles.
You know, it's interesting. I just spent last weekend at a basketball tournament all weekend long for my eighth grader. And this is a different type of basketball tournament, though. It really is about sportsmanship more so than who wins and who loses. The thing that stood out to me was what you just said about how these kids behaved on the court and how they interacted and how they communicated. And, even things like how they were passing the ball to each other, right? And they wanted each other to do incredibly well. So when you talk about these examples or these lessons that sports, that games, that team sports can play, is that some of what you're talking about? I mean, because the communication was really fascinating to watch among these kids.
Yeah, it's 100% what we're talking about. It's not just team sports, it's individual sports. There are so many things that you learn when you engage deeply in athletics. Basketball in particular has this small space with intimate communication, but so do other sports. It teaches you how to do hard things. It teaches you how to focus. It teaches all kinds of ways of communicating and interrelating with other people. It teaches you how to create within constraints. It's a discipline, no different than all kinds of other educational disciplines, a lens to size things up, to solve problems like math, like sociology, and like other applied practices, drama, music, filmmaking. They're ways of learning.
So my understanding is that you've actually brought these ideas to institutions like the United Nations. I mean, even the Vatican. I mean, we know Pope Leo went to Villanova, so Villanova fan. But with that said, I mean, what kinds of conversations are you having in those spaces?
The idea is to elevate sports, to reposition it. It's not just for hyper commercialized purposes or elite athletic development, that it is a space of human development. It is a social institution, an educational institution. There's so much more for so many more of us. And particularly in this moment where rapid technological advances are creating all kinds of concerns about, well, where are young people learning how to be with other young people? Where are the human skills being developed? I would argue strongly they are being most intensely developed, that precious humanity in athletic realms.
And right now, you're helping to lead a group of universities that are exploring whether sports should be treated as an academic major. So, what would that idea actually look like in practice?
Yeah, it helps a lot of people to make an analogy to the arts. So, just like you can major in music, art, dance, drama, and when many people would agree that these are valid majors, they're portals to the human condition. Central to the earning of those degrees is the doing of the thing. We believe athletics is its own thing, but no different in that respect, in that when athletes engage deeply with their sports, if we, in a scholarly way, in a pedagogic way, scaffold around that activity, and that those are not just the only ways these athletes would learn, but central to that activity is a curriculum that can be constructed to create graduates who have very valuable and desired skill sets in the job space, in relationships, in diplomacy, you name it.
Well, and this conversation, I think, is happening at a very interesting time because college athletics, they are changing so quickly and so dramatically, and especially with I believe it's the INL deals that allow athletes to earn money now. And this is something that's been talked about in the past, right? Because these students who are these student athletes, they bring in big money for a lot of these universities. Yet historically, they weren't making anything, right? And the majority of them don't go pro. So how does this shift impact the argument for a sports major in college?
Yeah. And I'm really glad you asked that question. I want to be clear about this. Whatever's happening with collegiate sports has nothing to do with what we're talking about. We are an academic movement. There is something called sports. It's a huge cultural form in our society. Nothing takes up more commercial, cultural, and media space than this thing called sports or athletics. So this is not just for whatever construct happens to exist in college sports today or tomorrow. This is for people who are engaged deeply in college. Right now, I have a professional athlete in a class that I'm teaching in the curriculum that I'm constructing here at NYU. It's, are you a qualified athlete? whatever that definition is for your curriculum. And from that, you get to participate, no different again than a musician, an actor, a dance major. So it doesn't matter what happens to college athletics, and conflating those conversations, can be very confusing for folks. We are an academic movement connected to the rich educational vista of athletics, period, writ large.
Well, and you have companies, as I mentioned in the beginning, like Nike, that have also expressed interest in this idea. So why do you think the private sector is paying pretty close attention to this conversation?
Well, everybody should pay close attention to this conversation. We're talking about the evolution of higher education. Well, to me, we're talking about one of the most significant new developments in higher ed in a very long time. Nike is interested because they have led the creation of the modern sports environment. They believe greatly in the multi-sided value of this thing called athletics. So, they got involved because we were talking about basketball, and when this kind of consensus idea out of some meetings came that, this could be a major. This is where sports should go. These are the new spaces in society that can be improved by the values that Nike and me and others understand exist in athletics. Let's have this discussion. Let's pose the question publicly. Why not have this major? Which has gotten us to this second conference at Boise State on March 10th. The first one was held in June at 2025 at Nike headquarters in New York City, where we're going to have over 100 people from different universities and different pieces. It's not just athletics. In fact, it's philosophy professors, sociology professors, trying to understand what's the best thing for young people in our institutions. That's the question.
So do you imagine a sports major being exclusively for athletes, or could a non-collegiate athlete pursue this as a major as well?
Yeah, I've said that. So we have professional athletes, Olympic athletes, all kinds of athletes outside particular university varsity systems, of course.
And as you mentioned, you'll be in Boise next week, speaking at Boise State. So why is this a good moment for universities to be having this conversation? You mentioned the evolution of higher education, and we're seeing that change so much. And in fact, even here in the state of Idaho, we're seeing some majors and some departments and colleges go away due to budget cuts. So how do you then make the argument, let's start a whole new major?
Well, my job in higher education is to seek truth, right? To go where the questions and the inquiry leads. The right moment, meaning is it advantageous somewhere, somehow? You know what? It is. Because the big conversation in so many campuses and so many student affairs department are, how do we make these young people flourish? How do we make them able to interact with each other, to create peaceful solutions, to navigate their differences, to speak about uncomfortable things, to reconcile and openly explore without feeling afraid or offended? I'm saying, and again, my colleagues who are with me are saying that this is a great way. This is hiding in plain sight. This gigantic piece of our society has been doing this for such a long time. We just haven't validated it academically. And we're about to do that. And Well, we're doing it. 3 universities, Southern Virginia University, Campbellsville University in Kentucky, Lindsey Wilson University in Kentucky. Southern Virginia is running it right now. The 2 I mentioned in Kentucky will be running it next fall. More to come.
Before I let you go, what has surprised you the most as universities start taking this idea seriously?
2 things. What has surprised me the most is some of the just basic kind of intellectual bias that some of my colleagues, not at New York University, but just in general, in the larger academic community, have demonstrated when it comes to this discussion, a kind of ignorance that they would not display with regard to any other academic inquiry. That's the bad part. It's been overcome pretty quickly. The good part has been the outpouring of gratitude from athletes who are feeling seen and understood. What has surprised me is the almost larger than cottage industry that has been for years recruiting college athletes to teach them the kinds of things I've been talking about in this interview, the values, the learnings, so they can articulate it and be more valuable in the job market. And then they sell them like a recruitment firm, for thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars sometimes, to firms, employers. The desire for athletes and the skills that they have, it's just growing before my very eyes, and it's been incredibly encouraging, to see that and to see young athletes feel like all this time and passion they spend on this thing that they love, they're not wrong about it, that it's teaching them something. They just need the partnership of the academy to take it to the next level.
Well, I want to thank you so much for your time today. Fascinating conversation. We've been speaking with Dave Hollander, the author of the book, How Basketball Can Save the World. He is also a professor at NYU. He'll be giving a public keynote address at Boise State University this coming Monday, March 9th. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Idaho Matters. And for quick news of the day, start your mornings with our podcast. It's called The Connector, Idaho Daily News. And if you haven't yet, could I ask you to leave us a review wherever you listen? We read every single one, and we'd love to hear from you.